And with that, let's go to the running back tiers. Of course, Tier 1 headlined by a lot of the popular names you see in the first round this year. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ashton Jeanty, and De'von Achane there, Matthew, sneaks into Tier 1 as well.
News coming out earlier today with the general manager basically saying they expect De'von Achane to be ready for week 1. He's sort of been dropping in drafts because people are worried about the injury, but he's going to be there in week 1. And so, De'von Achane is somebody who just gets massive target share. He was on the love list, as you know, as well. And we talk about that. We talk about these kind of teams that have narrow target trees. And it really is. It's Tyreek Hill, it's Jayden Waddle, it's De'von Achane. And given that we've seen injury issues from, well, honestly, all three, but specifically we've seen that from Tyreek, given his age, I think there's a chance that Achane being the number 1 running back in fantasy this year is within the realm of possibilities. I don't know that I would put heavy odds on it. Again, when you've got Bijan and if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, Saquon obviously got a chance, Gibbs, but he's in that conversation of who are the guys that could finish the year as the number 1 running back in fantasy, and he's in there.
Yeah, as opposed to guy like Josh Jacobs isn't going to be the number 1 running back in fantasy, even though he has a relatively high floor. I'm with you on Achane. I think it helps as well that Jonnu Smith isn't around, just because they scheme up those gadgety plays. I think that will be reallocated to Achane. 2 years ago, De'von Achane looked like a different species on the football field. The way that he was running for those touchdowns against the Giants and the Broncos, that player is still there somewhere. The Dolphins offense makes me a bit nervous in general, but there's certainly upside.
In games last year that Tua Tagovailoa started, De'von Achane averaged over 22 fantasy points per game. Yep. He was right there at the top of any running back, just in the games in which Tua started. Now, there is risk, obviously, with Achane's injury and Tua's injury, which is why I have him at running back 6. But I do think he's in that Tier 1. I do think that if you left your draft with Achane as your number 1 running back, you're feeling good.
This comment from Daniel Caps is kind of interesting. Achane, PPR machine, he gets you 20 points, getting less than 70 yards. That's how right. Kind of the structure of the offense, Matthew.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They use him a lot in the passing game. And we'll see, do they use Ollie Gordon at the goal line? Does he not get as much, short yardage stuff? But it's not like he's got a running threat at quarterback the way some running backs do that might take some opportunities there. Achane is similar to Gibbs, and I guess McCaffrey on a little bit of a level, which is that he doesn't need 20 to 25 touches a game to be productive. He's somebody that has that big playability, that has so much usage in the passing game. And we always talk about this. Targets are more valuable than carries. When it comes to running backs, you'd rather receptions than touches, than handoffs, I should say, in terms of fantasy value.
How about the confidence in Ashton Jeanty in this tier? Obviously, a special running back prospect going to a place, Matthew, that Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, they want to run the football a lot, and now they got the talent to do it. And I think this line's a little underrated.
There's been 4 years that Chip Kelly's been a head coach in the NFL. 3 of those, his teams were top 7 in terms of rushing attempts. So, and you don't use the kind of draft capital that you used on Ashton Jeanty if you don't expect to use him early and often. Since 2012, 5 of the 7 running backs drafted inside the top 10 overall, which Jeanty was, have averaged at least 19 touches a game, at least 19. And in fact, all 5 of those running backs that I just mentioned finished as top 7 fantasy running backs this year. It's Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, some superstars, but then Leonard Fournette, who, had some nice years, and then Trent Richardson. Trent Richardson, right? So I'm just saying, I think unless he gets hurt, the floor is very high for Ashton Jeanty, but also so is the ceiling.
Yep, definitely. Connor, how big of a deal is Caleb McGarry being out for the season for Bijan Robinson? Because not only is McGarry out, who's been one of the better right tackles in football on Penix's blind side, but Storm Norton, the backup, is also out for 6 to 8 weeks. So now they're down to a third-string right tackle.
It is a big deal, but some running backs are, can overcome that, and Bijan is that kind of talent, right? The guys in this tier specifically can overcome average offensive line play. The Falcons still have a good offensive line even without him. But you're right, Jay, it's a big deal. But here's the difference. I think the threat of Penix being able to push the ball down the field is going to open up better run opportunity for Bijan Robinson. They're still going to throw him the ball anyway. So if I was picking number 1 and I wanted a running back, I would be taking Bijan Robinson most likely. Obviously, Chase is in the combo as the number 1 pick. But for this exercise sake, I'm not as worried about it where it drops him behind any of these guys.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. The other guy, Jahmyr Gibbs as well, just to mention his name, his value, like if you told me that David Montgomery is only going to get 7 or 8 carries a game, then Jahmyr Gibbs might be the number 1 running back. But there's just the scope for that to get a little bit higher. Montgomery's, you still got, I think, 3 years left on his contract with that team. He's a big part of their identity. Suspect that he's going to eat into Gibbs enough to just to make Gibbs not the number 1 running back. But still, there's certainly worlds where he could fit.
No one had more fantasy points per touch among running backs last year than Jahmyr Gibbs. So even if he can get like a couple more touches this week, and I told you, like, I think you'll see him used in the red zone a little bit more. I think the end of last year when Dave Montgomery was out was very instructive on Gibbs, where he took on a massive workload and proved that he could be that dude, that he could be that guy. I agree with you. Dave Montgomery's not going away, but I do think that whereas a year ago we were sort of looking at it like, yeah, Gibbs is higher, but maybe a round or 2 higher. Now there's a more significant gap between the two. I have Bijan at 1, Gibbs at 2, but if somebody drafted Jahmyr Gibbs as the number 1 overall player or as the number 1 running back, I'm not looking at him weird.
Comment here from Johnny Dangerly. Jeanty equals new beast mode, Las Vegas style. That'd be pretty high praise.
Yeah.
What?
Do you think Johnny truly is danger, or is this Danger Lee? So it's like he's sort of dangerous.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, he's kind of dangerous.
He doesn't want to set the expectations too high.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm danger-ish.
Danger adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the neighborhood of danger.
Yes.
Like he waves to it driving home to his safe house.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it won't actually like rob a bank.
No. His middle name is in danger, but he's probably got a cousin named it. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.